Hello, my name is Kelsey Day. I write stuff, and this is the book that I published when I was 11 years old. It's called Pintus, which is the name of the main character, a young prince living in a faraway kingdom that I'm not even sure has a name. And some of the great features of it include the pet owl that the prince has, a tiny little owl named Cleven, of all things. The owl's name is Cleven. I don't know why the owl gets a human name and our main character doesn't, but that's the situation that we had. There's also, in the medieval ages, a coffee shop which actually opens the book, a scene in a coffee shop. One of the chapters pretty shortly afterwards, maybe the third chapter, is called Fortune Cookies, and it's about a Chinese restaurant in medieval England where Prince Pintus goes to get his fortune told. So that's the standard that we're working with here. What I'm gonna do for this video is read you the first couple pages, and I made an animation to go with it because I'm trying to push myself to try new mediums. So here we go. Chapter 1. Coffee shop. Frost glittered in the glass windows, and an icy wind nearly knocked people hurrying through the narrow streets off their feet. The cobblestone road was littered with drifting snow and crusty frost as well. Occasional sheets of ice caused browsing people to lose their balance and crash wildly into the nearby wall of some store or stand. A single cloaked figure, that's our guy, was sidling along the walls, darting back and forth in the shadows and barely avoiding the prying eyes of others. His face cast in shadow, the figure made his way to a cozy brick building with a rectangular sign swinging above the doors reading coffee shop. Yep, there's the coffee shop. Through the glass doors, anyone could see the comfortable tables, warm coffee, and lots of older women. The women were all seated together at one table, and of course they were gossiping. That much seemed obvious, considering the little... Am I gonna sneeze? Jeez, God. That much seemed obvious, considering the little sparkle in their elderly eyes and reckless look on their faces. The figure opened the door and slipped inside. After a moment of thought, the figure took a chance and went up to the counter, a coin jiggling in his pocket. The cloak was stiff from the cold, snowflakes sprinkled over its fabric like the light dustings in the pedestrian's hair outside. He reached up and set the single coin on the counter. "One coffee, please." He paused. "And extra milk and sugar." The worker nodded, his flour-smeared apron sliding up and down on his chest. The figure, guessing that he had a while to wait before his coffee would be ready, chose a corner near the gossiping women and eavesdropped. "Jeanette, we all know you weren't once married to a king," snickered one of them. She paused, a sneaky smile on her face, and leaned forward. "Although, if you must know, the prince and I are very close friends." If the cloaked figure had had a drink, he would have sloshed it all over himself in surprise. "What, that 11-year-old boy of a prince, Prince Pintus?" another woman inquired. "The very one," she said, nodding knowingly. "Yes, I'm so sure," said Jeanette sarcastically. "You must be great friends with that 11-year-old boy, I'm positive. But I know everything about that boy, everything. For example, I know that he has a pigeon that he carries around on his shoulder." "A pigeon?" laughed the second woman as the others gasped in delight at this juicy bit of news. "What utter nonsense! He carries about not a pigeon, but a rat!" "A rat!" shrieked another woman, looking as though Christmas had come early. Did they have Christmas in the medieval ages? I don't know. All the women leaned in, eyes wide and amazed. The figure fidgeted slightly. "A rat," said the second woman calmly. "And not only that, but he feeds it at the table, with his family right there. I heard it loves salmon." Also, was there salmon in the... I feel like I'm exposing more of my lack of knowledge about the medieval time period during this video than in this book, but that's okay. The figure couldn't stand listening anymore. He ran to collect his coffee and then retreated outside in the frigid air again. Slowly, he took a small sip of the sugared coffee, and as it warmed his insides, he pulled off his hood in the safety of the dark shadow. "I," he said heatedly, "do not carry a rat around." He reached beneath his cloak to retrieve a tiny golden-brown saw-whet owl who gave a chirp of agreement. "And I," he continued, placing the owl beneath his cloak on his shoulder and looking up towards the castle, "never knew that old lady." He despised people, lying about other people, but being the prince of the kingdom, he couldn't expect anything less. Everyone expected marvelous things from him, the son of the greatest king ever known. However, he just wanted to leave the confinements of the castle, wanted to be, for once, treated as an equal. He had more freedom. Sorry. He had more freedom than anyone else than anyone else in the entire kingdom. ... And yet, he had none. He replaced the hood. Prince Pintus, that was his name. Prince Benjamin Pintus Sacco, the son of the great and mighty King Ericsson Horace Sacco. This is the part that kills me. I don't even need an animation for this part because it's just so iconic. It goes endlessly. He had thought to himself, why have I such an odd name? Why can't I have a name like Harry or John or Billy? Why Pintus? But that was his name, and he had come to accept and even like it. I mean, I don't see what else you would need to hear. Like, go buy your copy right now, you know? Like, this is... whew. Art.
Look at this. Who is that? Who is that?
I really can't tell you how many hours I spent with my grandmother on the phone, just arguing over sentence level ridiculous edits that were completely correct. But at the time I was like, no, this is my baby. I am a genius. I am the best writer in the world. And everything I say is right. She was such a trooper. Such a trooper. And I honestly learned so much about what it is to be a writer, but also more like what it means to be an editor and a writer who edits. Thanks, Mimi. Child logic just works differently. The way that you think about the world and the rules that you make up as a child, they're just different. You're scared of the thing under your bed. You're scared of the dark. You're scared of things, you know? But you also believe in things. Believe in fairies and friendly ghosts and princes with little owls on their shoulders. Like, that was never even a question for me, whether there would be there. And the thing, Cleveland doesn't even have a plot point. The little owl, no, he serves nothing to the plot. He's just there purely for shits. Purely. And that was the logic. And that was okay. And part of me kind of misses that childlike wonder. I mean, that's what got me into storytelling. I think it's interesting too, just in terms of like the stories that I was writing at that time versus the stories that I'm writing this time, because that was very much a story of like coming to grips with your own privilege, which I guess was a big part of my childhood, because I am very privileged, like being, you know, random skinny white chick from North Carolina. Yeah, I'm gay, I'm a woman, struggle with mental illness, whatever. I had a head start. 11 to like 13 is around the age where you start sort of, maybe a little earlier, but you become sort of aware of the social system at large and your place in it. And so, I don't know, I might be just like talking about some bull. Maybe it's just a book about a prince and I'd seen too many Prince movies, but there's a part of me that, like, looking back on it, feels I could make the literary analysis. I could make the case that this was me trying to grapple with a broken system.
Also, I want you to appreciate the absolutely terrible font choices that were made throughout this book. This is what happens when an 11-year-old designs the entire, this is what happens.
Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this. If not, I mean, that's fine too. Stay inside. Shout out to my awesome grandparents. Goodbye now.